Om Jnanatimirandasya Gnanjanasakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Gurudev. What do we talk about today? I have an idea.
Go on.
It's a small and intimate group today, isn't it?
It's what today?
A small
A small group. No,
Yeah.
it's a small group.
Well, the other day was yesterday on the calendar, Mahaprabhu's auspicious arrival in Panihati. And of course, Panihati is famous for the Chiradahi festival, the chipped rice, known as the chipped rice festival. And dahi, of course, means yogurt. So there was chipped rice and yogurt and other foodstuffs, candy, rock candy, bananas. Quite the festival. Hosted by Raghunath Das Goswami at the behest of Nityananda Prabhu. So most of us are familiar with that festival and its significance. The significance being the freeing of Raghunath Das Goswami from his family bondage. And I say that from the perspective of Raghunath Das Goswami himself, that he saw it as bondage, something that was shackling him down to a condition, to a circumstance which he was not at all happy with. Fundamentally, acutely, chronically dissatisfied with his conditions. Even though he had, you could say, the world at his fingertips. Use another idiom, or another what? An idiom. The world was his oyster. I say, idiom. The world was his oyster. So much money. His parents were extremely wealthy. His father, Govardhan Majumdar, extremely wealthy. And so he had access to wealth and everything, all the other comforts and opportunities in life that come with extreme wealth. But he was disinterested in all of it. And instead, his only desire was to seek the shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Exclusive, pinpointed desire. Of course, this was, you could say, consistent with the moods of all the Goswamis. We have Rupa and Sanatan with similar circumstances. They weren't quite as young as Raghunath. Raghunath was a teenager. We're talking mid-teens, perhaps. Early. He had just freshly married, beautiful wife. They were, of course, married a little younger in those days. Come in. Hare Krishna. Good to see you. You can take a seat here if you like.
I'm going to deliver the...
Oh, I see. Oh, Hare Krishna, yes. So, the Goswamis, Rupa and Sanatan, similar circumstances. Rupa Goswami was the finance minister for Hussain Shah, and Sanatan Goswami, his older brother by 2 or so years, was the prime minister. So if you know anything about politics, you know that the prime minister is the chief minister. He's the person who's next in power behind the monarch himself, right? Or today, in today's democratic environment, democratic system, the prime minister is the most powerful. The monarch is just a figurehead. But back in those days, 500 years ago, in that part of the world, the king still held the power, the real power, not just symbolic power. And the prime minister was second in command. The prime minister, which means the chief minister. Minister to who? Minister to the king. And if you know politics, you'll know that there's cabinets which are the most powerful. It's like a few of them, 4 or 5. The prime minister, Jagannath, you know, don't you? Finance minister, home minister.
Chancellor of the Exchequer.
Well, they're like that's the finance minister.
Treasury.
The foreign minister, etc. So there's certain considered elite cabinet posts, important cabinet posts, which are distinct from the from others. So Rupa Goswami was the finance minister, and it's considered that, like, for example, in British politics, we have the Prime Minister, he's at number 10 Downing Street, and who's at number 11? The finance minister.
Or is it number
What is
9?
it?
No, it's number 11.
What's he called?
Chancellor
The
of the
Chancellor of the Exchequer.
Yeah, the different finance minister, the guy who manages the money.
Yeah.
The money man.
So they're the people that live on Downing Street. So those are the two chief offices of state. Right, offices as in
So the Prime Minister calls the Chancellor of the Exchequer next door and says,
Next door,
can
number
I have
11.
3 billion for...
So Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami held these two highest offices, the Prime Minister and the Finance Minister. So the wealth and opportunity at their disposal was colossal, yet they were disinterested in it. Others may spend a lifetime hunting, chasing a fraction of what they had. They were disinterested in it, and they gave up everything again for the shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So the same with Raghunath Das Goswami. He wasn't in politics, but his parents were extremely wealthy. His father and his brother, Govardhan Majumdara, and his uncle, Hiranya, perhaps. Hiranya Majumdar rings a bell. Anyway, he met Mahaprabhu twice. First time was when Mahaprabhu had taken sannyas at the house of Advaita Acharya in Shantipur. Mahaprabhu visits there, as we know, just after sannyas. And Raghunath Das Goswami meets him there. And then again he meets him there at Shantipur on Mahaprabhu's return from meeting Rupan Sanatan and Ramkali. And Mahaprabhu tells him, you carry on with your domestic life. Don't be a monkey renunciate. Markata vairagi. Don't be a monkey renunciate. But in your heart, in your consciousness, you cultivate Krishna consciousness. And externally, you carry on with your prosaic, everyday household affairs. And when the time is right, then the shackles will be lifted, and you will get your heart's desire, the association of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. And so Panihati plays an important role in the freeing of Raghunath Das Goswami from the shackles of his mundane life. By the mercy of who? Nityananda Prabhu. So the lesson here, of course, is that service and the association of Gauranga Mahaprabhu is given by Nityananda Prabhu. Raghunath Das Goswami, Nityananda Prabhu was coming through Panihati, and Raghunath Das Goswami begged him for his mercy. Nityananda Prabhu said, yes, but you feed all of my associates and all of the brahmanas. So he spent a colossal sum of money on finest ingredients, rice and yogurt and bananas and sugar, etc., and fed them all sumptuously, and then got the mercy of Nityananda's lotus feet on his head. And Mahaprabhu was also there in spirit, what can be considered a avirbhav appearance, or avirbhav, you could say, incident of Mahaprabhu. And as is said, there are 3 ways in which Gauranga Mahaprabhu manifests. There is Shakshat, which means direct. This is when Mahaprabhu appeared on Falgun Purnim, 1486. You could say physical appearance. Shakshat means direct. The word Shakshat means direct, as in Shakshadaritve na samasta shastre that we sing. The Guru is directly Krishna, considered directly Krishna. So Shakshat is when Mahaprabhu was born and lived his, displayed his pastimes on earth, 1486 to 1534. And then there is Avirbhav, when Mahaprabhu appears, but not physically, of course, because he's no longer physically on the planet. But in spirit, absolutely, when he chooses to. That is known as a Shakshat. This is given in I'm not sure if it's Chaitanya Bhagavat or Chaitanya Charitamrita. I'll have to look it up. But one of the two. So Shakshat is when Mahaprabhu appears in spirit. And once Guru Maharaj talks, I have to find this place where Guru Maharaj, Srila Param Gurudev, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he talks about, he's sitting on his veranda one day and he feels the presence of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. And he's saying he's crying in ecstasy. He doesn't say ecstasy, but we can know it's ecstasy. He's saying crying and crying. Guru Maharaj wasn't one for drama or sensational type talks. But so when he does talk of these things, which we may consider like miracle stuff, we can know he's not doing it for sensation. Guru Maharaj was one who one could put one's trust in, absolutely. Absolute faith could be placed in Guru Maharaj. So when he does talk of these miraculous type incidents, then we can have faith that he's not sensationalizing. Which unfortunately is quite rampant these days, particularly in certain sections. We hear of miracles and fabulous stories. They're designed to stimulate the faith of those who are impressed by such occurrences. And their faith is stimulated. Why? Faith in who? Faith in the person telling the stories, talking about the miracles. Why? So that they can gain followers. They want people to have faith in them so that they can gather them up as followers, recruit them as their followers. Which is simply pratishta, right? The name, the fame, the position, the popularity. So this talk of miracles, etc., is all generally just the cultivation of pratishta. But when it comes from Guru Maharaj, we can know it's quite the opposite. It's a genuine article. Not that we dismiss metaphysical occurrences, fantastical occurrences in the spiritual life. They're there, of course, part and parcel of it. But they can be easily exploited. So when we hear of them from a non-reliable source, they have to be taken with a grain of salt. But when coming from the likes of Guru Maharaj, Gurudev, we can have faith that they're not cultivating them for cheap popularity, but rather they're trusted, true, something that we can learn from. Not the cheap ring producing that we get, the likes of who? Sai Baba started that, didn't he? The vibhuti, the sacred ash, the rings up the sleeve. Here you go, my dear. And other people that are following him, copying him nowadays. Anyway, so Guru Maharaj talks of Mahaprabhu, the presence of Mahaprabhu coming to him. This is a case of Shakshat. And the other way Mahaprabhu manifests is Avesh. Now we're familiar with this term Avesh as in Shakti Avesh, where someone has been empowered with Shakti, energy. The energy has entered into that person. So Avesh means that the spirit or the energy of something enters into. So this is given as the third way Mahaprabhu appears. First is Avirbhav, second is Shakshat. No, first is Shakshat, second Avirbhav, and third Avesh. So, and incidents are given like for the Avesh type where Mahaprabhu enters in and empowers someone. The example given when these three type modes of appearance are described is Nishrimananda. Nishrimananda Brahmachari. So, the Shakshat appearance. Very special. Guru Maharaj humbly talks about it. But it's a very miraculous. It shows that Guru Maharaj is a parishad. Yes. Of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, the Chittadahi festival was another example of the Shakshat manifestation of Gauranga Mahaprabhu, where Nityananda Prabhu was there, but it's also said that Gauranga Mahaprabhu was there in spirit in this Shakshat mode of manifestation. Anyway, that was at Panihati. That's the famous festival at Panihati. But just yesterday on the calendar it says the day of the auspicious arrival of Mahaprabhu at Panihati. People were wondering what it was. What is it? So it's the arrival of Mahaprabhu at Panihati on his journey north from Jagannath Puri on his first attempt to go to Vrindavan. So he leaves Vrindavan on Vijay Dasami, which we celebrated recently. Vijay Dasami is the celebration of Ramachandra's defeat of Ravana, Ramachandra's killing of Ravana, conquering of Lanka, rescuing of Sita, etc. So Mahaprabhu leaves on that day, travels north, and on the border of Orissa, the northern border, there is governed by a dubious fellow, a brigand, a drunk, and thus it was a dangerous territory to cross. But by the influence of Mahaprabhu, this person, who's the most unlikely person to display favorability to Mahaprabhu, Jai Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ki Jai, he does, and becomes a devotee. For at least a short period of time, he becomes a devotee. We don't know for how long. The brigand, yes, he's a chieftain. He's a statesman. He runs the, I don't know how big it is, but the territory of what is now southern Bengal, probably southwestern Bengal, on the border with Orissa. So, being a Muslim, and an unpredictable Muslim at that, with his drinking habit, it's considered very dangerous territory for Mahaprabhu to travel through.
He's not following the Quran, is it? Because they're not allowed to drink.
No, he's not following the Quran, no. Maybe his personal copy, he's removed that bit from the Quran. Yes, exactly. So, Mahaprabhu travels through, and this king, this governor, even builds Mahaprabhu a new boat. He builds him a new boat, and with a skilled captain, I guess. Person who drives a boat is a captain, right? Boatsman. To navigate the boat from the river where Mahaprabhu is, on the border between these two states of Bengal and Orissa, out into the Bay of Bengal, up into the what is Gangasagara, the Ganges Delta, part of the Ganges Delta, the western part, where the Hooghly River comes out, and up past modern day Kolkata, up the Ganga. So out into the Bay of Bengal and up the Ganga to the place called Panihati. And this voyage must have taken several days. Must have taken a few days. Boats were mechanized, of course. They were using oars or perhaps sails, both. But either way, manually powered. So, and not an easy, in terms of water navigation, not particularly easy. Down a river, out into the ocean, upstream, up another river to Panihati. And not particularly politically stable territory either, from what we gather. So when Mahaprabhu arrives at Panihati, it's considered an event, and that's why it's marked in our calendar. That was, the anniversary of that was yesterday. So Vijay Dasami was on the, I was looking just before, Vijay Dasami is on the 21st or something. No, 24th of last month. And then yesterday, the 10th, is the Mahaprabhu's anniversary of arrival at Panihati. So what is that? It's about 16, 17 days. Mahaprabhu leaves Puri on Vijay Dasami, and then he arrives at Panihati 16 or 17 days later. And it's considered a notable day on the calendar because Mahaprabhu has, you could say, arrived safely in what is somewhat more stable territory and into the at the residence of his devotees. So he's crossed this, you could say, hostile middle territory by boat, which is both hostile politically and also difficult to navigate, and arrived at, you could say, a safer space. And in Panihati, of course, is Raghava Pandit. His sister's name is Damayanti. And then from there he moves further north. But I was thinking in honor, because yesterday we didn't talk much about this event, this day. So, but it's given in the Chaitanya Charitamrita in Madhya Lila, chapter, let's see, chapter 16, 17 or something. So we'll just read the few verses. Yeah, chapter 16, 7, 9, 8. So this is Mahaprabhu's arrival at Panihati as distinct from the Chiradahi festival, which is also at Panihati. Of course, prior to this little section, which we're going to read in honor of yesterday's anniversary of Mahaprabhu's arrival at Panihati, is the pastimes with Gadadhar Pandit. Because what happens is connected, because this is like a pastime that happens directly preceding Mahaprabhu's journey to Panihati. Is Gadadhar Pandit, of course, follows Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And is instructed eventually, after a few days of tagging along, instructed by Mahaprabhu to return home to Puri. Because, why? Because Gadadhar Pandit has made a vow known as Kshetra Sannyas. Kshetra Sannyas means that he's going to stay in one place. It's kind of the opposite of normal sannyas. When normal sannyas, traditionally a normal sannyasi would stay for a maximum of 3 days in one place, so that they don't get too comfortable, so to speak. 3 days in each place. You cannot really develop attachments to any place. People develop attachments to persons and objects of, where they reside, the environment or people that are living in that environment. And these become karmic bonds. Potentially they become karmic bonds that bind one, not just to that particular place, but that inner attraction to that particular place. It's not that place that matters so much, but it's the inner attraction that wanting to stay in one place represents. A link to the physical, an attraction to the physical, psychophysical environment. So the sannyasi is trying to break the bonds of their material attachment. And so staying in one place for too long is considered a risk, because then they may develop some subjective attraction to that place. And that attraction is a subtle rope which can cause them to reincarnate, ultimately, the condition of the mind. So they're wanting to free their mind from all kinds of material attachments. So the sannyasi traditionally travels, but Gadadhar Pandit, he made a vow, the opposite. I'm staying in one place. And in a sense, that's the same. Saying, I don't want to travel around and see, I don't want variety. I'm going to renounce that variety. You stay in one place, that's also a kind of mental discipline, a severing of the mind's desire to experience the delights of the world. But, of course, it was for a higher purpose. It was because his deity Gopinath was in Jagannath Puri.
I want to ask a question.
Yes, and let me just finish this quickly. But furthermore, it was because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in Jagannath Puri and planning to live there. So because Gadadhar Pandit was absolutely addicted to the association of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he made his vow of what is known as Kshetra Sannyas, or in Bengali, Ketra Sannyas. Silent S, and the S comes after the K. So, yes, Sandra.
The question is, you were talking about the sannyas and about not staying more than 3 days. What about the returning? Is there supposed to be a certain amount of time before they return? Because you're still being... I mean, like, if I go on holiday...
Yes, I understand.
Go for a little while, but I want to go back to that place.
Yeah, so you're saying they could kind of manipulate the rule by staying for 3 days and then coming back an hour later for another 3 days.
Not an hour later, but you can still get attachment by keep returning to a place.
Yeah, that's true. Something tells me 3 days for every year, so you can come back the next
3
year.
days and 3 nights.
Okay.
72 hours, all right?
And there are other people
The
listening.
purpose is that to not to get too hung on a place. There will see something will be there,
Yeah.
a twig that will maybe you will return. But the point is that you break that. You're breaking an attachment, isn't it? And you to go. You can remember and think, and all that will happen, and that you can come back. Of course, that happens as well.
Yes.
Also experience the 3 days. And of course,
I know, I was listening to alternative, and it's not just the people in here, there's people outside listening as well.
So-
it's coming over the airwaves.
Hare Krishna. So, yes. Yeah, I mean, there's a principle behind every rule, and it's important to understand the principle. And once you understand and honor the principle, then the rule can become somewhat flexible. But if one doesn't understand the principle, then they're going to mechanically follow the rule, not knowing why the rule was designed. There's a principle known as niyamagraha, knowing when to bend a shastric injunction and when to honor it to the letter. How far it can be modified, and until it becomes you could say a dishonoring of that rule.
I thought you were supposed
So-
to take it absolutely as it is. But what circumstances, how would you bend it and what circumstances would that play?
Well, a good example is Ekadasi, for instance, where the rule on Ekadasi is to fast, not take any food. And so we make an allowance to take non-grain food. But then a further allowance can be made. In the interest of service, there's sometimes that rule is even broken. So when and how much that rule can be bent, and when it can be bent, when it is appropriate to do so, this is known as niyamagraha. So to follow scriptural injunctions fanatically to the letter is not healthy. This is given in the second verse of Upadeshamrita. Atyahara prayasascha prajalpa niyamagraha janasangascha logyamcha sadbir bhakti prasidyati. Sadbir bhakti vinashyati. Sadbir bhakti vinashyati. Niyamagraha. So niyamagraha is actually given there, couched as a caution, as a prohibition. The next verse, utsahan nishched darya tat kama pravatana, etc. Those are recommendations. So the second verse is prohibitions. Niyamagraha, not being too liberal and not being too conservative. That's niyamagraha. So in terms of Ekadasi, our example, not being too fanatical about it, but not being too liberal about it either. So knowing how liberal to be and how conservative to be, that is niyamagraha. But not going to too extreme either way. That's the precaution given by Rupa Goswami. To not abandon Ekadasi, but to not think that fasting without water every Ekadasi is also the premier practice, properly honouring it, necessarily. Sadbir bhaktir vinashyati, vinasha. These things, an improper application of that will, as vinashyati means destruction. So anyway, they're not helpful to bhakti. So back to our point of staying for 3 days in any place. The proper way to avoid the pitfall of niyamagraha, being too conservative or too liberal, is to understand the principle behind the injunctions. Not just a parroting of slokas, but to understand the principle of the sloka. And then you can understand when it should be applied, and when it shouldn't be applied, if at all, and when it can be modified, and when it shouldn't be modified, etc. Because you understand the principle, the reason for it. It's kind of basic logic. If the Guru says, if there's an injunction saying you must do what the Guru says, this is true. But if you understand the reason why you must do what the Guru says, it's to please the Guru, right? You must do what the Guru says because it pleases the Guru. And thus it's good for you. So if the Guru says, go to the well and get me a glass of water, and you go to the well and there's a dead animal in the bottom of the well in the water, dead cat or something, and you say, oh, the scriptures say you must do what the Guru says, right? And you go get your Guru a glass of water from next to the dead animal, and you take it to here you go, Guruji, here's your water. And you think yourself, I've conquered a test. I was tested and I still did what my Guru instructed me to do. That is a case of failing in this idea of niyamagraha. And vinash, as Rupa Goswami, vinashyati, such a thing can damage, compromise your bhakti. So, but if you understood the principle of why the Shastra says you should do everything your Guru says, you should obey the instructions, Guru Mukha Padma Bhakya Chitati Karyaikya, make the Guru's instruction one with your heart. Then if you understand the principle behind that, you would go to the well, you would see the dead cat, and you would get water from somewhere else.
You could go somewhere else, of course.
Exactly. So it's a very basic example.
But not from the well, with a dead animal. That would be,
Yeah, exactly.
that would be a bit insane, isn't it? And
Exactly. It's a very...
chastising offence. The Guru was, what did you say? What did you do? I said water, not the juice of an apple.
So the point, it's a very basic example to illustrate the point of understanding the principle behind an instruction, and then the instruction can be modified. So Guru says, go to the well, get me water. You understand the reason he's asking that, the principle behind the instruction, and you modify it. You don't get water from the well, you get it somewhere else. Because yes, that's common sense. Of course, it's a basic black and white type 1+1 example to illustrate the point that you have to understand the principle behind Shastric instructions and slokas. Once you understand the principle, you know when, where to apply it. You're not just a machine anymore. You're an actual servitor. So you know where the exception...
Like if he said, go and get me a bottle of alcohol, for example, then you'd have to refer to scripture, right? To reject that in that situation.
Well, I mean, if the Guru said that and you have faith in the Guru, then you would probably do it. Yes, because what's the Guru going to do? Make a herbal tincture, perhaps. I mean, we can go into all sorts of hypothetical scenarios, right? You know, what if your Guru is Nityananda Prabhu? And instead of you see Nityananda Prabhu performing all sorts of things, then that's okay. To think it wrong is an offense. But the basic idea is that if one understands the principle of the instruction, then they can navigate this concept of niyamagraha successfully. But of course, I mean, you know, the whole the whole issue evolves and changes depending on the relationship between the Guru and the disciple, and depending on the time and the place and the circumstance. like Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada in his preaching, Swami Maharaj Prabhupada, instituted certain things which were seemingly in violation of Shastric injunction. So did Saraswati Thakur. Right? So, whereas someone else trying to do that, it might not work. So, there are various factors, but the faith in the Guru is...
It is faith and trust, and same thing, your Guru wouldn't expect you to come back with water from that well, but you would do the best you could for the love that you have heart-to-heart transaction, so it's all done that way.
Yes.
We're lucky to have that sort of a Guru, like we are very lucky to have a heart-to-heart, beautiful Guru Bhag.
Any examples of
Extraordinary sweet, and from the land of sweetness, like Guru Maharaj also. That was the prime thing, the love aspect.
Mm.
And heart to heart, then it's just you.
Any
You
examples
trusted,
of
you have that thing where you would only.
Yes, I mean a lot of it is common sense, but often common sense comes with common sense in the spiritual arena comes with a certain amount of spiritual growth. Otherwise, a Kanishta Adhikari doesn't have, from what a Madhyama Adhikari looks at a Kanishta Adhikari, and there's no common sense in the application of spiritual principles. It's all mechanistic.
It's just showing the structure, I suppose, if you look in the Shastras and things.
Guru Maharaj gives examples. Guru Maharaj gives examples of this Professor Sanyal once. They're sleeping once after a long day of service. It's perhaps at the inauguration of the Bag Bazar Gaudiya Math. And Guru Maharaj is sleeping, and Sanyal, whose name was Bhakti Sudhakara, I think. Yeah, Bhakti Sudhakara Prabhu. So he's sleeping on the next bed, and he develops some kind of illness, and he thinks he's going to die. But he doesn't wake up, Param Gurudev, thinking, no, to disturb the sleep of a Vaishnava is not acceptable. The scriptures say, you shouldn't. And he's referring in himself to this idea of Trinadapi Sunichena, humility, right? I will take on suffering and not give the Vaishnava any disturbance at all. And when he related this, so he's lying in his bed thinking he's going to die, but he's not bothering Guru Maharaj, who's sleeping next to him. And when he relates this to Guru Maharaj next day, Guru Maharaj was very disturbed to hear it. And he actually went to Saraswati Thakur, and Saraswati Thakur said, yes, you can tell him that, this fanaticism is actually detrimental. You have to take care of your body. In this instance, you have to take care of your body as a service vehicle. You can't let your, a slight inconvenience, if it's even that, to another devotee, let that, the fear of that be the cause of the demise of your service machine. In other words, you can't die out of fear of a slight inconvenience to another devotee. That's not a logical interpretation of the Shastric concept. Anyway, so understanding the principle of it is all important. But anyway, we've gone off on a bit of a tangent here because we went from a sannyasi staying 3 days in each place. I was simply saying that what Gadadhar Pandit did in Jagannath Puri was the opposite of that. He chose to stay in one place. And he did so because of his deep love for Gauranga Mahaprabhu. And so he made a vow to worship as Tota Gopinath. Our mat is reasonably near the Tota Gopinath temple. So anyway, Gadadhar Pandit breaks his vow and follows Mahaprabhu, which shows that his vow is centered. The inspiration behind his vow was to be in the proximity of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Not so much for any other reason. That was the real reason. Because when Mahaprabhu left, boom, he left too, following Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu told him to turn back a couple of times. And then eventually they got to this river called the Mahanadi River. If you look at it, you see it on the map there, at Kataka. And he was eventually coerced by Mahaprabhu into turning back, and he fainted on the banks of the river. Mahaprabhu hops into the boat, goes across the river. There's some dialogue that goes along with that. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya takes him back. That was a little before, and then shortly after that, Mahaprabhu arrives at another river. I forget the name. There's a Mahanadi, and then there's the Chitrotpala River. This is it's like a distributary of the Mahanadi. And this is where Gadadhar Pandit fainted and was kind of pulled up by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and they both returned to Puri. Then Ramananda Roy goes back a little later. Again, he falls unconscious. And then they arrive at the next river, which might actually give the name here. No. There's another river. What's the name of it? I forget. It doesn't matter. So we'll just read a few verses here in honor of yesterday's anniversary of Mahaprabhu's arrival at Panihati. Okay, it's just a few verses, it's not very many. And that will be us for today. Tabe odra desha sima prabhu chali aila, tataraja adhikari prabhuri milila. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu finally arrived at the border of the state of Orissa, a government officer came there to meet him. Dina due chari tenho karila sevana, age chali bare se kahe vivarana. For 2 or 4 days, the government officer served the Lord. He also gave the Lord detailed information of what was ahead. So he was the border officer, a border official.
Fortune.
Sorry?
What a fortune.
Working under Maharaj
I don't know.
Prataparudra.
Okay, I know him.
Madhyapayavana Rajara Age Adhikara Tanra Baye Pate Keha Nare Chalibara. The border officer informed the Lord that the territory ahead was ruled by a Muslim governor who was a drunkard. Out of fear of this king, no one could walk the road freely. So he wasn't a happy drunk. He was a violent drunk, obviously. Pichalada Paryanta Saba Tanra Adhikara Tanrabaye Nadi Keha Haite Nade Para. The jurisdiction of the Muslim government extended up to Pichalada. Due to fear of the Muslims, no one would cross the river. Dinakata Raha Sandi Kare Tanrasane Tabe Sukhe No Kate Karaiba Gamane. Maharaj Prataparudra's government officer further informed Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that he could stay at the Orissa border for some days so that a peaceful agreement could be negotiated with the Muslim governor. In that way, the Lord would be able to cross the river peacefully in a boat. Se kale se yavanera eka anuchara udiya katake aila kare veshantara. At that time, a follower of the Muslim governor arrived at the Orissa encampment dressed in disguise. So they sent a spy across. Yavanera eka anuchara. A follower of the Yavana. Vesha Antara. Dressed differently. Prabhuda se adabhuta charitra dekiya Hindu chara kahe se Yovana pashagiya Eka sanyasi aila Jagannatha haite aneka siddha purusha hayatanhara sahite. The Muslim spy saw the wonderful characteristics of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and when he returned to the Muslim governor, he told him, a mendicant has come from Jagannath Puri with many liberated persons. Nirantara kare saba Krishna sankirtan, sabe hashe nache gaya karaye krandan. All these saintly persons incessantly chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. They all laugh, dance, chant and cry. Laksha laksha loka aise taha deki bade, tanre deki punarappe aite nare gare. Many millions upon millions of people come to see him, and after they see him, they cannot return home. Se sabaloka haya bolera praya Krishna kahena chekande gada gadiyaya. All these people become like madmen. They simply chant the holy name of Krishna and dance. Sometimes they even cry and roll on the ground. Kahi barakata nahe dekele se jani tanhara prabhave tanre ishwara karemani. Actually, these things cannot be described. One can understand them only by seeing. So you have to see them to believe them. Considering his influence, I accept him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ishwara Karimani. So this is the spy, the Muslim governor's spy, reporting back on what he's spied in the border, in the across the river and on the border of the other state. After Eta kahi se chara Hare Krishna gaya hase kandena che gaya bolera praya. After saying this, the messenger began to chant the holy names of Hari and Krishna. He also began to laugh and cry, dance and sing like a madman. Eta suni yavanera mana pirigela apana vishvasa udiya stane pataila. When the Muslim governor heard this, his mind changed. He then sent his secretary to the representative of the Orison government. I'm going to read just the English through here because there's another page or two. I forget how many verses are on this. This is the Chaitanya Charitamrita all in one book. So I'm used to reading the volume series. There's not so many verses on each page, and in this one there's like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 20 verses on each 2 pages. So I'll just read through the English because there's another page or 2, and then we will be at our destination. So the governors, the drunkard governor's spy has returned to him, and he's eulogizing Mahaprabhu. Oh, here we go. So he's praising Mahaprabhu. When the Muslim governor heard this, his mind changed. So we can presume he had an inimical attitude. His mind is changed, become favorable. He then sent his secretary to the representative of the Orison government. The Muslim secretary came to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When he offered his respects to the Lord's lotus feet, he uttered the holy name of the Lord, Krishna, Krishna. He was overwhelmed with ecstatic love. After calming down, the Muslim secretary offered his respects and informed the representative of the Orison government, "The Muslim governor has sent me here. If you agree, the governor will come here to meet Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and then return." The Muslim governor is very eager. He has submitted this petition with great respect. It is a proposal for peace. You need not fear that we will fight. Upon hearing this proposal, the representative of the Orison government, the Mahapatra, was very much astonished. He thought, the Muslim governor is a drunkard. Who has changed his mind? It must be Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself who has changed the Muslim's mind. Due to his presence and even due to his remembrance, the whole world is liberated. After thinking this, the Mahapatra immediately informed the Muslim secretary, "It is a great fortune for your governor. Let him come to visit Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. However, let me make it understood that he should come here without weapons. He can bring 5 or 7 servants with him." The secretary returned to the Muslim governor and informed him of the news. Dressing himself like a Hindu the Muslim governor then came to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Upon seeing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu from a distant place, the Muslim governor fell to the ground and offered obeisances. Tears came to his eyes, and he was jubilant with ecstatic emotions. Arriving in that way, the Muslim governor was respectfully brought before Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by the Mahapatra, who is the Prataparudra Maharaja's border official. The governor then stood before the Lord with folded hands, and he chanted the holy name of Krishna. The governor then submissively asked, "Why was I born in a Muslim family? This is considered a low birth. Why didn't Supreme Providence grant me birth in a Hindu family? If I take birth in a Hindu family, it would have been easy for me to remain near your lotus feet. Since my body is now useless, let me die immediately." Upon hearing the governor's submissive statement, the Mahapatra was overwhelmed with joy. He clasped the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and began to offer the following prayers. "Simply by hearing your holy name, a Chandala, the lowest of men, can be purified. Now this conditioned soul has received your personal interview." So they were thinking there might be some drawn-out negotiations, right? They had to negotiate Mahaprabhu's safe passage with this drunk guy, who was also a powerful guy, so not the easiest party to negotiate with. And instead this happens. He comes dressed as a devotee, falling at the feet of Mahaprabhu. It is no wonder that this Muslim governor has attained such results. Simply by seeing you, all this is possible. To say nothing of the spiritual advancement of persons who see the Supreme Person face to face, even a person born in a family of dog eaters becomes immediately eligible to perform Vedic sacrifices if he once utters the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, chants about him, or hears about his pastimes, offers him obeisances, or even remembers him. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then glanced with mercy at the Muslim governor. Giving him assurance, he asked him to chant the holy names Krishna and Hari. The Muslim governor then said, "Since you have so kindly accepted me, please give me some order so that I can render you some service." The Muslim governor then prayed for liberation from the unlimited sinful reactions he had previously incurred by being envious of Brahmanas and Vaishnavas and killing cows. So instead of difficult negotiation for Mahaprabhu's safe passage, he is begging to be of service. Mukunda Datta then told the Muslim governor, "My dear sir, please hear. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wishes to go to the bank of the Ganges. Please give him all assistance so that he can go there. This is your first great order, and if you can comply, you will be rendering a great service." After this, the Muslim governor offered prayers to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's lotus feet, as well as to the lotus feet of all his devotees, and after that, the governor departed. Indeed, he was very pleased. Before the governor left, the Mahapatra embraced him and offered him many gifts. He thus established a friendship with him. The next morning, the governor sent his secretary with many nicely decorated boats to bring Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to the other side of the river. The Mahapatra crossed the river with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and when they reached the other shore, the Muslim governor personally received the Lord and worshipped his lotus feet. One of the boats had been newly constructed, and it had a room in the middle. It was this boat that they put Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates. So he gave him a new boat with a accommodation on the boat. Hare Krishna. You can take a seat. We're just finishing up here, but we're reading a pastime of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's travels.
All right. I wouldn't be here for a long time. But
You can sit down for 2 minutes. We'll be finished. Finally, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bade farewell to the Mahapatra. Standing on the riverbank and looking at the boat, the Mahapatra began to cry. The Muslim governor then personally accompanied Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because of pirates, the governor took 10 boats full of many soldiers. The Muslim governor accompanied Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu past Mantreshwara. The place was very dangerous due to pirates. He took the Lord to a place named Pichalda, which was near Mantreshwara. Finally, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bade the governor farewell. The intense ecstatic love exhibited by the governor cannot be described. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes are all uncommon. Whoever listens to his activities becomes glorious and his life becomes perfect. The Lord finally reached Panihati,
Yes.
and as an act of mercy, he gave the captain of the boat one of his personal garments.
Oh, wow.
The place called Panihati is located on the bank of the Ganges. After hearing that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had arrived, all kinds of men assembled both on land and on the water. At length, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was taken away by Raghava Pandit. There was a great crowd assembled along the way, and the Lord reached Raghava Pandit's residence with great difficulty. The Lord stayed at Raghava Pandit's place for only one day. The next morning, he went to Kumarahata, where Srivas Thakur lived. So that is listed in the calendar. The Lord finally reached Panihati. And it's considered a noteworthy incident because it is the conclusion of this pastime of Mahaprabhu crossing the border into this dangerous territory ruled by this alcoholic governor.
Who turned out to be...
Yes, who turned out to be the best of guardians and servants in terms of facilitating Mahaprabhu's passage. Supplied a new boat, supplied 10 boats full of soldiers to protect them through this pirate-infested part of the river. If you look at the map, this river, they go out. My understanding is that they go out into the Bay of Bengal. Then they actually go through the Bay of Bengal, a little bit along the coast, and into the mouth of the Ganga at Bengal, and up past modern-day Kolkata, and then Panihati is there on the banks. So when they finally arrived at Panihati, we can understand from this, it says, as an act of mercy, he gave the captain of the boat one of his personal garments. This is an act of great mercy by Mahaprabhu. It's not a common occurrence. So we can understand that the captain did a very good job navigating these dangerous waters. It's probably both required great skill and also the danger of the pirates, a difficult, dangerous territory. So Mahaprabhu was very pleased with the captain, took off his garment and gave it. What an act of mercy. Doesn't happen very often. You can count on probably one hand where this happens. Mahaprabhu gives personal gifts of personal items to people. Act of great mercy. So we can see that not only the whole you could say nature of the hostility. They were faced with great hostility, and it was changed to great favorability. This governor becomes a devotee, at least for a couple of weeks, and facilitates Mahaprabhu's journey. And after this incident, they arrive at Panihati. So that's considered a notable day. And this day, when they arrived at Panihati, that was yesterday. So Mahaprabhu leaves Puri on Vijay Dasami, which was November the 24th, and he arrives at Panihati yesterday. October 24th, and he arrives at Panihati yesterday on the 11th. So about 17 days between leaving Jagannath Puri and arriving at Panihati. Jai Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Shri Gurudev ki jai. Ki boo.
Wash off.
Hare Krishna. Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda
Srila Vrindavan Dasar ki jai. Kaviraj Swami ki jai. Shri Rupasana Sambhasa Raghunath Jiva Gopal Bhattacharya Raghunath Sarva Swami Prabhu ki jai. Shri Rupasana Guru Varga ki jai. Namaskar Hari Thakur ki jai. Thanks to Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Saparsar Sri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai. Saparsar Sriman Mahaprabhu ki jai. Sri Navadvidan ki jai. Sri Maya Purdan ki jai. Sri Ganga Yamuna ki jai. Sri Vrindavan ki jai. Sri Radha Krishna Gopal Mukunda Radha Sundari Govardhan ki jai. Bhakti Vrinda Tulasi ki jai. Sandra ki jai. Lalit Suvada Jagannath ki jai. Suravati Vinavina Saya Sinhar ki jai. Bhakta Praradalana ki jai. Yantara Yashamad Bhagavatam Chitani Charitamrita ki jai. Raya Savad ki jai. Ramaduraya Chitanya Mat ki jai. Raya Sathamat ki jai. Chitanya Saraswat Mat ki jai. Chitanya Saraswat Mat West London Chapter ki jai. Jaya Pitaya Sathamat ki jai. Sapati Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Samana ki jai. Samana Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Jai
I'm too much like